Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third panel discussion for the day, where we are decoding India's podcast trends. And some of the finest podcasters and people in the industry are here today to, have a chat with us. Uh, I'm sure you all can read the bio here, so I'm not gonna spend the time to and use this valuable time to, instead of asking questions, just read out the paragraphs here, so you can just go through them. But Varun, May, and Gautam, thank you so much for giving us your time on a Saturday evening. I think uh, I'm going to say this once again, and probably for the last time. Thank you so much for being on such a short notice here. And that's like my common introductory line for every panel discussion that's happening. So thank you so much for being here today.
No
Thanks
worries.
for having up,
Glad to
Pawan,
be
and thanks for
here.
consistently saying thank you, even though we're all happy to be here.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Pawan is by far the most charming host that I've come across in a long time. So, good.
I
Thank you
know.
so
We're
much,
so glad to
Gautam.
be here.
Thank
Yay.
you. I'm going to start with a very interesting point that Roshan mentioned in the last panel discussion, and I quote him when I'm saying this. He said that podcasting is built on a false bubble. Audio was the alternative for someone who did not look too good for YouTube. Uh, what is your take? If we can start with May, if you want to tell us about that, what do you think on this? And if Roshan, you're
So,
here still, please let us know what you think about this in the chat.
I gotta say, Roshan, the obviously this is such a radio thing to say because it's like he's basically saying you got a face for radio. Like that's like the subtlety of what Roshan is trying to put forth. And I mean, I don't know. I think the audio medium is obviously really different. I don't know. I mean, I think someone like a Roshan has like filled like the various gamuts of like TV and radio and so on. And I think the audio medium definitely is different. And now in a space where literally there's so many memes of like, oh, I started a podcast because I am having a midlife crisis. That's the idea of what people thinking our podcast is. But I do think that the audio medium is fascinating in its own way to be able to communicate different kinds of stories, to be able to be a voice for the people who don't necessarily have a voice. And I do think that there's so much potential in the audio medium that is genuinely not being explored in India very much. But I do think that there is value in audio that is very different from the way you communicate things in a visual medium.
Varun, if you want to go next.
So I kind of popped into podcasting at I would say a bit of a crossroad point. There's also the initial stages when everything was about audio. When I started doing it, I brought in my head some of the learnings I had from video. I know a lot of podcasters now look at it as a multi-channel approach thing, right? So I kind of look at it by saying people just want options. People just want options to listen to something or watch something or just flip between one or the other. It's like and sometimes you don't necessarily want to listen to the whole thing, right? There's a reason why Joe Rogan clips is something I go to more than I will go to Joe Rogan's podcast. So I do feel that audio first is a great space to be in, but the more I'm seeing it develop, I feel that the YouTuber mentality, because Roshan mentioned YouTube, has kind of seeped into how we even create podcasts, and I think those things merging together have they're different mindsets, different ways of doing it. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and anybody can be on YouTube, anybody can be on podcast. So that's a very random answer to give for a pointed question, but that's the way I look at it. I look at it as to say that it's a great additional platform to create long form content, and now you're being able to scale it by using it across everything else.
Got it. Gautam, what is your take on it?
So, I mean, I think that it depends on the way that you define the word podcast, because podcast as a terminology in itself or in terms of nomenclature is so loosely defined today. So if you look at it from the way that it's defined in the West, well, maybe. I mean, I could see where you're coming from. But if you look at it from a localized understanding of how Indians have consumed audio content, Well, then I don't concur. I don't agree, because if you look at podcast being an umbrella term for things like how Indians have consumed religious narratives, your Hanuman Chalisa, your Guru Granth Sahibs, or people consuming cricket commentary through the years, or how people have consumed, even how Indians consume storytelling. And if you see that in its form of how it can be, how it can metamorphosize in a localized way, I don't even think that we've begun to scratch the surface of what can be podcast, so to speak, in India. So in my mind, it isn't a bubble. It's more of an iceberg, and we're just looking at the tip of this iceberg right now. And under the surface of this water, there's an incredibly large mountain. We just need to, I think, disassociate ourselves from how the world defines the word podcast and find how find what podcast means to us in India. So yeah, that would be my answer to this.
Gautam, if I can ask you the next question, and I want to know because Hubhopper has like numerous number of podcasts and shows and podcasters on the platform. What really are, let's say, the kind, because you're referring to, it cannot fall under a certain genre or kind of a definition to it.
Yeah.
Let's say, what are the broader categories of it, or the major trends into podcasting
in terms of what's well?
Yeah, the kinds of podcasts.
I mean, think about it like this. Since today with Hubhopper, we're looking at unskewed data. We are distributing into Spotify, into Gaana, into Wynk, into Hungama, into Samsung, into all of these different platforms at a macro level, at a API level. So when we're looking at data, we're not looking at data for one particular platform, one particular application. We're looking at consumption trends across the industry. Because of that, we're able to see really beautiful behavior patterns at a countrywide level. So when people had begun to consume podcasts in India, it was intermittent consumption. So we'd see people consuming through the day. There wasn't logic to consumption. But now, as you see people having consumed for a large period of time, or a relatively large period of time, people are finding where podcasts sit within their day. So today you're seeing about 4 major peaks of consumption. So you see an early morning peak that occurs, and that early morning peak is categorized by religious consumption, devotional content consumption, self-development, self-growth based consumption. Then you see your morning peak, or your commute peak, as we would call it. And that's when people would consume self-development content, news-based content, business acumen related content. Then you see your evening peak, which is your way back from work, where people would consume a lot of hobby-based content, or people would consume a lot of recreation content. And then your nighttime consumption, which was storytelling oriented, true crime oriented, love stories oriented. And you're seeing these peaks occur across an entire populace as a whole. So it's not as though you can see that this is skewed data. But what I'm very excited about, Pavan, is actually aage jaake, when we see how is India going to develop, how I want to see as an industry in India, what are the trends that we will see that are different from the rest of the world? Are we going to see podcasting develop in the field of education, for example, where can audio content disrupt education? Can audio content disrupt information dissemination? So I want to see the twists and turns that this is going to take, and I'm really excited to be along on this ride as this story unfolds. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to look at it also, like how Zoom calls happen right now, like classes. Maybe it could just be an audio format for education, and I think that's a very interesting thing to think about. May, if I can ask you, what has been a consumption trend for you and for your show over the past, let's say, few years, few months, and how have you seen, and how can you resonate it with a countrywide, nationwide podcast consumption trend? Can we build any synergies about it, or what do you think has been like a consumption trend for your show, at least?
The one thing that I gotta say is really interesting about podcasting as a medium and the way people are consuming it is just a couple of things. One is retention time, which is like how long people are actually consuming like a piece of content, right? Like exactly as Gautam said, like in the mornings or evenings or afternoons, like the length of time they're listening to it, right? Like how long I'm going to listen to a whole episode, right? One of the things that we always get asked is like, how long should my episode be? I always am like, well, it depends on the kind of content that you're making, right? Are you just telling a story? Are you doing a news bulletin? Are you like the audio medium, especially podcasting? It's the world is your oyster. You can do a 2-minute episode of your podcast, and you can do a 2-hour podcast. But like, what is the most interesting thing about the medium is that it's the engagement. How long is someone actually, the staying power of a podcast, I think is like really important. So like if, a lot of like what we're seeing on a lot of our shows is that to have like 50% and over in terms of just staying power of a show. I remember this is like ages ago, like we had a meeting when TikTok was still alive. We had like a conversation with them to talk about like EduTalk, which was like some stuff that they were doing, and how like as an audio medium, we could sort of explore collaborations with them. And one of the things that they talked about was like, oh, the average time spent on TikTok is like 15 seconds. Like that's their average retention time. And I'm like, oh, it's like 25 minutes for us. And they're like, what do you do again? And I was like, we make podcasts. And it's amazing to know that like this is the level at which like people are staying on to listen to something. It's also the fact that you don't have to do, you don't need active screen time. I can be sitting in my car. I can be doing potty. I can be doing anything and be listening to a podcast, right? Like you have the ability to consume media, like the audio medium in this way. You can be doing anything. You can be in the shower. And so that's one particular aspect, I think, of like a listening trend, like with regards to podcasting. Another is that what we've been realizing is that there's a 50-50 gender split between men and women listening. Because like women consuming this medium is fascinating to me for the sheer idea of the fact that I think it's hard to like, and I've had these conversations with like agencies and advertising guys who are literally like, wow, the number of women that are listening to podcasts. And this is not just India, this is also across the globe. There have been studies that are being done where they're realizing that the younger the audience is getting, right? Like you have these sort of veteran people who've been listening to podcasts for ages, and then newer people getting into podcasts. And there are more and more women listening to podcasts. And this is what I was saying earlier. It's because you're hearing voices there that sound like yours. They're talking about subjects that you're like, I resonate with this. And I think what they're saying is super funny. And to have other women and having other kinds of people talking about subject matter, that for you feel so close to, and I think that's really important. I think the kind of voices that you're hearing in the audio medium also differ from the mainstream in a huge way. And I think those two things are the things that I find really interesting about the medium, I guess, as a listenership trend.
Just a small sub question on that. Are we also seeing more women podcasters now compared to, let's say, past few years?
I think so. I mean, the thing is, when you consider like podcasting, and like I've been in it for 5 years now, and when I had left radio, are there more women? I think that it's like, I don't know if there were less women when it started. There seemed to be a sort of equal mix of both. And again, because it was a medium that seemed accessible, it was something where I could have my opinion and my voice be heard. So I think it's genuinely different in terms of like, I don't know if there was less or more, there just was or is. So yeah, I think that's what makes the medium so fascinating, because like, oh, I have something I want to say and I'm a woman and I think I can say it in this medium in a way that is comfortable for me, I guess.
Yeah. Varun, if you can tell us about how has the consumption trends been for Advertising Is Dead, like right from when it started and now 200 plus episodes, how have you seen that increasing, evolving, or changing over the years?
So one of my I would say my biggest learning over what 110 weeks of doing this is actually being that as long as you're consistent and you're consistently listening, like I look at data, like I'm obsessed with it, right? Because so I've actually tweaked how I host basis the data. And when May said retention time, I had a smile on my face. That's one of the things that really helped me. So because we never look at retention time as a metric, right? When you look at video just talking about, that's not necessarily the thing that's out there. So whenever I talk to, let's say, a brand or someone else and they say, okay, what's different? The numbers are lower. I'm like, forget the numbers being lower compared to video. Look at how long people are sticking on, right? And as you went to that, you also realize where people drop off. You realize where people stick on. So initially, for instance, and this actually was something which was something May had once pointed out to me about my intros being impromptu, and I would just ramble on for like 2-3 minutes, and then I would come to the chat, and she said, "Why don't you just script it, right?" And I said, because it just be more compact. People will might just tune off sometimes, saying, "Okay, the chat hasn't started," so And I went to the data and looked at it, and I realized there was a certain amount of drop off, right? So I started scripting it, making it tighter, moved to the chat much faster. Then I also realized in terms of a trend that whenever I spoke about one topic with a guest for more than 8 to 10 minutes, people would start dropping off, right? Attention would automatically go down. So now, even if it's in a great point, I switch topics around 7-8 minutes and I bring it back in about a couple of minutes. Initially, I had to kind of map it out in my head because I constantly look at the clock and I'm moving that around. That immediately made it flatline a lot more. It made that curve kind of stay. But one of my largest learnings apart from these two would be just looking at your programming. I think we most times don't look at the programming mix. Like I learned this when I worked in television years ago, that what show comes after what show on television is actually a science, and you put it in a certain way so people kind of stick on and want. And in a similar way, if I have a guest talk about, like, let's say I have Viraj talking about influencer marketing, right? Come on the podcast. If the next episode is also on influencer marketing, the audience is like, okay, I've already heard this last week, so why will I come back for this, right? So as long as you give them variations, but it's somehow strung together, and also use a little bit of the umbrella effect, is that you have a really popular guest kind of come in, bring in someone with very deep knowledge in a topic but who might not be known next, because the people who listen to that will seep into a guest they might not know about, but because I've heard this, they seep in, right? So there are things you learn that way, but more than anything, I'll just stay consistent. I mean, if you're consistent, do 100, 200, 300 episodes, you'll get it out there, as long as you look at the data and learn.
My just to add to like Varun's point, one sec, because you had mentioned about the moving within conversation, right?
Yeah.
Even if, and again, I always say this to people, editing is your best friend. So even if within a conversation, and it does, like, conversations waffle on, like sometimes you can, and you can be the most consummate host in the world and have conversations like meander or waffle, which is where I think editing is important. So even if, like, Varun, he's super conscious as a host of like, okay, at this point in time, I'm going to shift the conversation. Even if you don't, you can edit it and post. Like, that's the great, this is not like radio and doing broadcast. It was so, the pressure is like with podcasts, and I'm like, wow, we have so much time to make this stuff.
I'm the worst person. I rarely, if ever, and May and I have had this chat before, rarely ever edit any episode. It's just record it, slap it on, get it out there. Very rarely have I moved stuff around. I clip off something when either there's a fumble from a guest and they're like, can I just do this part again? Or very rarely when somebody says something they didn't want to say and they say, can you just cut that off? But I agree, editing really helps. I think I don't have the patience for it. I can't listen to my own voice. I hate listening to my own voice on the episode, so I'm not listening to it again. So I'm like, somebody else listen to it. I don't want to get into it.
My next question was going to be about what are some prerequisites to create like a successful podcast. But let me just summarize some points that Varun has already shared. One is to be consistent, to program it well, to also, keep an eye on the data about how it's performing and what the audience is, giving you like a feedback. And I think what you suggested was also editing is like your best friend. Any other prerequisites? Because here, I think a lot of aspiring podcasters and a lot of nominees that we had for the podcast category are here. What would be like some prerequisites for creating a successful podcast show for the Indian audience? let's take it at for an Indian.
Especially if you're running, and I can say this because like I've been running my own podcast for 5 years. And maybe this is like me thinking in very sort of like radio terms, because like you literally plan out your whole year. You plan out what's going to happen in March, like for Women's Day, for Independence Day, for Christmas, for whatever. So like a lot of the time, I would plan my content like throughout the year. Like at the beginning of the year, I'm like, okay, what am I doing in these particular months? Like you'd plan it like you would an entire campaign. And so I think if you're running a show throughout the year, I think it's super important to be able to tag on to like something that's already happening within the year and find a way to optimize your show accordingly, right? Get certain kinds of guests or do certain kinds of things. Like, I'll give you an example. Like last year for Independence Day, and again, I think all of us do things because it's your show, it's your baby, it's something that you feel like is a reflection of you. And like last year for Independence Day, like I had done this thing because the lockdown had happened and there was like border issues with India and its neighbors, and it was so frustrating for me. And the one thing that I decided to do is that I created these bunch of playlists called Our Neighbors, and I featured independent artists from Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Nepal. And it was about promoting sort of camaraderie and compassion and not border politics. So, and I used my show as a music show to sort of facilitate that. And then you create this whole campaign. Like because it's the audio medium, right? I work with amazing graphic designers. I work with them and I commission them to do work for the podcast. So based on what I'm doing, I have these gorgeous like visuals for it as well, because I don't have video to go for it. Then I work with graphic designers that I really like and visual artists as well. So I think your podcast isn't just the audio show. I think it's so much more. You can play around with it. You can work with different kinds of people. You can collaborate. And I think that that's the really fun part of like me doing my show. I get to communicate with different kinds of professions and people doing different kinds of things to be able to like explore what I can do with my podcast, because your podcast becomes an umbrella for doing so many other things, right? It's not just an audio show. Like even just recently, and again, I have to say this because 2020 was a difficult year for my ears, because the amount of terrible audio, I genuinely got ear fatigue. To go back into the studio again was like paradise for me. And I just did recently because we were doing like this ladies special. And it's something that I do every year where I promote like young and up and coming artists. And there was so much music that came out last year. So like all these little things we end up kind of doing, and we did an entire like video setup for it. We did like, we were able to, I'm hoping to do this eventually, is like start my merch store again. Like and one day when we can do events, like go back into that. So my thing is that your podcast isn't just your audio show, right? It becomes an umbrella for you to do many other things. It becomes a space in which you are interacting with your audience in so many different ways. And I think that don't just look at your show as just like, I'm just going to put out a piece of audio content. Think of it in a way that it becomes so much bigger than just the podcast. That like what Made in India represents is something more than just the audio show and about incredible music coming out of this country, And I think that in the same way, like say, let's take Varun's show, for example, Advertising is Dead. I'm sure that you could pick out like the festive season and how advertising around the festive season is such a thing, like map out the entire year in a way that advertisers think about it, right? And so my thing is that I would love, and I can think of millions of ways in which you can like take a podcast and extend it, right? Something that I find super fascinating, the advertising industry and the connection between voiceover artists. I'm a voiceover artist. And the entire voiceover artist scene is really built on advertising, but it is the most unregulated, like voiceovers. Like if you had to call someone to do a voiceover, who do you call? Where is the agency? There is no one. You call studio and ask them, do you know any voiceover artists? So I'm saying that like there are ways in which you can expand and explore the way in which you want to do your show, how you plan it out. And I'm a big, planning it out and doing it gives you so much room to be able to push out what you want to do, right? You're not doing this as like this week and then the next week and then the next week and the next week. You're not just doing it week by week by week. You're actually planning something bigger. And I think that's also a way in which to expand your view on what your podcast could actually be. So I think in that way, I think so much more will fall into place for how you want to look at your show. Think of it as it is bigger than just audio.
So Pawan, I think that this is actually a really good question, because from one perspective, you're asking creators and they're answering from their perspective. And to answer the same question from a platform's perspective, I'll take a sort of disassociated and an objective viewpoint and answer the exact same question as just because since there are lots of potential creators here and some people that are just creating, from a macro perspective, what are a few of the trends that we've seen that may help your podcast do slightly better? And this is not looking at any one particular podcast, but looking at all podcasts, thousands of podcasts. So we've seen the 15-minute mark doing well at a macro level. Some 40-minute podcasts do really well, some 5-minute podcasts do really well, but our sweet spot is 15 minutes in India. A really good thing to do is in the podcast, if you use words like we, us, our, hum, these words do really, really well. We've done A/B tests at Hubhopper. Anytime you use inclusive words do much better than when you're using very specific words that are just focused on you and me. Another thing that works incredibly well is if you use if you try to actually approach a podcast from bilingual perspective, it works really well because people feel a sense of belonging again. Overproduction doesn't do well in India. Don't overproduce your podcast in India at all. Make sure you end your podcast with asking your listener to come back and then tell your listener what the next episode is about. Tell them exactly why they should be coming back, when the episode is going to drop, and who's going to be on that episode, if there is going to be a particular guest on that episode. These are fantastic things that you can do to get people to come back. Another really good way to promote your podcast is actually when you have somebody as a guest on your podcast, tell them that you will actually promote or you will give them a certain amount of money to run an ad or actually boost the post on their own social media channel. Why? Is because if you keep boosting from your own social media channels, you will keep reaching your own nexus, because social media platforms will automatically, trumpet your podcast out or trumpet your ad out into your own little nexus. But when you take that same amount of money and do it through their channels and you actually sponsor it from their perspective, that way you're actually reaching a new audience and reaching people that are very committed to them. So this is something. And then finally, the way that you said, how do I make my podcast do well? Ask yourself, what is success to you? Do you want your podcast to reach 40 people, but make those 40 people fall in love with you and, really, really love who you are and what you are trying to do? Or do you want 5 million people to fall in love with you? With the different routes that you choose, there'll be different methods. In one method, I would ask you to go via a mailing list methodology and get people to subscribe to a mailing list. In another method, I tell somebody to follow another method.
Is he just stuck for me or for everyone else?
No, he's
For you
stuck for
also.
me also.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think he'll come back eventually.
he'll
Yeah,
come
but I
back.
think very diverse set of points that he was.
I actually had a
referring to.
couple of points to add to what Gautam and May both said, right?
Mhm.
And in some points, I don't think it's a different perspective, because I've looked at, so initially I would just keep creating advertising is dead, just post the creative on my social and let it be, and that was never a thing, right? Sometime late 2019, I took a call that, okay, let me just try understanding what else my audience might want to consume, because I realized that a large part of my audience was a specific sort, right? College, looking forward to a career, people who just started their career. There are a few categories which I formed in my head. Thanks to working in advertising, you can form cohorts at least, and that learning is there. So I started putting out a lot more content, not something which I wouldn't put out normally. It's just that I started almost structuring it a certain way. So my social became a lot more about, okay, let me put out content beyond what I put up about the podcast, but is associated. So almost you're expanding the radius of what your content creation abilities are, right? So initially I was just posts. Late last year started a newsletter, and I did the Substack platform primarily also because it gave me the opportunity to do an audio version as well. And I do that very raw. Like half the time like if I'm lazy enough not to come into this room to record where the mic is, I literally just put my AirPods on and I'll record it and put it up, right? I know you'll hate that. The fact that I don't, laziness is, no. Yeah. No, but I've done that, right? And the thing is, I looked at the data again and I'm like, okay, I started in November. Now I'm at a little over 1,000 subscribers, which is decent for a few months. But I also look at how many people listen to it versus how many people read it. And about 25-30% of them still listen to it. And that's interesting for me. That's another channel. So I think for all of us creators, how many channels of distribution we're going to be creating is important. I did a second podcast last year called Useless Information. I'm bringing it back in a very different way now in a month or two. I'm doubling down on video. You're going to, like, everything I've done since last year has had video recorded and kept. Except for guests who didn't necessarily want to be on video, because I've had some guests I don't want video recorded, right? So I think that's inventory, archives and inventory and channels of distribution. If you go from a creator lens, because I said, okay, am I going to think of myself as a podcaster? Am I looking at myself as a creator? And I said, I'll put a creator lens on. So which means everything from Instagram to Twitter to LinkedIn to a Substack to all these suddenly become ways to expand it out. Am I only a podcaster? No, it's one of the things that I do. And I think Roshan mentioned this in the end of their panel, right, that stick to a few. I've gone the opposite side. I'll do everything, right? Like I put up workout reels on Instagram. It's my new thing. I've done that for the last 2-3 weeks. I have a lot of fun doing it because I do work out every day, right? And I just try stuff out. Sometimes you try stuff out. I mean, I might just do a weekly Telugu podcast one day. I don't know. Go back to the roots and do that stuff, right? So. May your audio's not coming, by the way. I just realized.
Yeah, I think maybe we cannot hear you. Can you hear us? Just maybe try to close the browser and join back again with the same link.
This has become a Pawan and Varun podcast right now.
I think this is like an IG live session that we did.
Yeah.
Same with Gautam also. I'm just gonna text him to
I'm back. I don't know. This is.
Oh, you're back. Perfect. Gautam, we can't see you though. We can't see you. You're back.
Yeah, we can see.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I jumped in at some point for you, Gautam.
Gautam,
No,
Gautam
I was just saying to Varun's thing of like doing a Telugu podcast. I was like, Bagunara, bro, do it.
Yeah.
Do a Telugu podcast. I'm so for
because
it.
I listen to Puri Jagannath's podcast, and that's on every chart. It's there, way up there. And what is he doing? He's just taking his phone, recording. It's there called musings. Every episode is titled musings. He's putting it out there. People listening to it, right? So I'm like, you can just just keep trying stuff out. You never know what works. Like try try a short version one week, try a long version the other week. Just like put out videos. Someone said, why can't an Instagram live series be called a podcast? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it can. I mean,
Could be. And I think
Pawan's been doing podcasts for a while now, so that way.
Yeah, I do think. I have to say that, like, I know Varun's always like, don't say anything. I'm going to say. And it's so funny because, like, I actually, and there was a point that Gautam, you've made just now, and I will dispute you on this, which is what is overproduction? Because honestly, I have a level of quality that, like, for our podcast, like audio wise, I have never, and I've heard so many podcasts, there isn't anything that's overproduced. In actuality, most of them are underproduced in the sense that, like, I don't think people actually understand what it is to actually create good sound design and understand, like, the medium of audio well enough to actually, like, produce a show well. And no one's talking to audio engineers, no one's talking to sound design guys, and I do on a regular basis. And so for me, like, to understand, like, I don't know what you mean by overproduction, because I think most of the podcasts that exist in the Indian podcast space, like, very varying levels of production, but overproduction and all, it's not there, sir.
So I
Gautam, if you
think,
can answer that and also finish the pointers that you were mentioning
yeah.
because you got cut into
No,
between.
so the thing is that again, I'm
You
answering.
walked into this one, Gautam. You walked into this one.
Yeah. Oh God, Lord. I'm just gonna drink this coffee. So May, I'm answering from the perspective of just a platform. From our perspective, this is just data that we're looking at, and at a data level, what we do see is, especially with the celebrityfication of podcasts, the overproduction that happens is where people don't feel as connected to the podcaster. I mean, it's a very intimate medium, as you very well know. And the second people start feeling disassociated from the creator themselves, I don't necessarily mean overproduction only from a sound perspective. I mean overproduction from the fact that from a scripting perspective, it just seems too staged. If something is seemed too like prepared beforehand, and as though it's almost it's like it has no cracks, it has no flaws. That from that perspective is where I'm coming from when I mean overproduced. So on the one hand, I would say that, and on the second hand, again we run A/B test, and we've seen in general you'll also look at a lot of podcasts across the board in which the speaker, again, this is less about the sound quality, but the speaker will they won't deliberately, but they'll make a mistake on the podcast itself, or they'll sneeze, or they'll cough, or they'll laugh where they weren't necessarily meaning to, but they leave that in. Maybe it's because it people associate it as a sense of endearment, or people associate it as feeling the humanity of the podcaster. But in that moment itself, when they see those imperfections, people tend to sort of get more engaged, or people tend to come back to that creator more, or people tend to sort of relate to that creator more. I'm coming from that perspective, less from the production and sound quality.
Fair enough. I think I get that. I'll give you an example of that, like where I had done an interview, and my audio editor like cut out a bit of silence that was there, and I told him to put it back in because it was a really poignant moment, and that little gap of silence actually, had far more impact than no silence.
Like, I'll give you one example, Pawan, and May. So there was this one podcaster we had, absolutely amazing idea. So this guy was doing almost found footage kind of episodes where he was going from haunted location to haunted location. And his episodes would essentially be him going to Bangar Fort or him going to some other haunted location. And, you could hear the rustling of leaves. You could hear a chowkidar in the background yelling at him. You could hear him climbing over a particular fence, him falling over. You could hear, rocks, and he would sort of end every episode at a cliffhanger, and you didn't necessarily know whether he survived that episode or not. The grittiness or the rawness of the footage or the rawness of the episode in itself is, I think, what made the podcast do so exceptionally well. This podcast got millions of streams. Of course, you can't superimpose that same logic or that same success on every type of genre, but it just goes to show that, there's a certain amount of imperfection that if you leave inside the show, that it could actually add a little depth to the sort of show, and could add depth to how people, feel in terms of the connection that they have with the creator themselves. At the end of the day, a lot of the reason why people listen to podcasts is because of the intimate connection that they have with the host. So that's the perspective that I'm coming from. Pawan, I don't really know where I left when I was sort of going on my large monologue, because
you were referring about the last part should also be about who the next week guest is going to be and those things.
Yeah. So mention who the next guest is, and then one very interesting
mailing list also. You were mentioning about how to.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a bunch of these. If anybody wants to reach out, I'm super happy to sort of lend any data that we've seen internally on the stuff that people are looking to make and how they can look to improve it from a slightly distanced approach. But yeah, I mean, I confess I kept talking, so that's why I don't know. I just continued like bantering on.
Okay, we'll people who want to know that list, list, please reach out to Gautam
Yeah,
and he'll
please.
create like a list of and share it with you. One thing, and because we're running short on time, I want to ask this to the three of you, and this is for people who are full time into podcasting, because that's one thing. If somebody really enjoys this medium and wants to pursue this as full time, what are still the monetizing opportunities or options available to podcasters, and if they want to pursue this as full time, like how me you were referring maybe about creating your merchandise, what are some other monetizing opportunities that can be there for independent podcasters?
So one thing that I think is super important before you even think about monetization is building your audience. I think people just think that like, hey, the moment I started my podcast, I've got 100 listeners. I think I can monetize now. Maybe not. You have to be able to, for anything that you want to monetize, it has to be worth it for, say, a brand or say a platform. So for them to actually put money into your podcast, the first thing that is super important is that what is the community that you're building? What is the audience that you have? What is the retention time? What is the reach? What is the engagement? Like, these are all the things that you need to be hyper aware of. I've been asked so many times of like, okay, this is my podcast. When can I make money? And I'm like, you got to build this. You got to make sure that you have this audience, which is why, like, when Varun said earlier that I look at my stats and I look at the engagement and I focus my content. And in the same way that he uses that to like build his content better, you can do that to help you monetize. So first things first, please make sure that like you're building your audience and it's growing, right? If your audience isn't growing, then there's a problem. And so monetization will only happen if you have an audience and a community that you're building with your podcast. There are various ways in which you can monetize, which is that on certain distribution platforms, and I think Gautam will have more information about this, on distribution platforms that will allow you to sort of tick a box and they will basically they'll put ads on your content in a way that like you will get a certain percentage of that comes back to you. You can work directly with brands who might be interested in the content that you're making or the audience that you're reaching. Another one, which hasn't really sort of come into place as much in India, is licensing, where you have the ability to put this in a, have it up on someone's website or have it up on a radio station or have it up somewhere where they will pay you a licensing fee to have your content somewhere. So licensing is something that hasn't really come up yet. I think it would be that you would either put advertising, host mentions. Those are like the beginning sort of bits of ways in which you can monetize. You might not have to seek it out. You can do it through distribution platforms. There are also online entire companies that are dedicated to podcast monetization. So I can't remember the name of it, but like there is like a website that you can go to and they literally can register your podcast there. And they will give you, based on like the audience that you have, like a standard rate of like, oh, if you can reach these many people, can I, as like selling, pet food on your show, how do I do that? So like there are all these like different ways in which you can do it. Sometimes you can start doing it with even people. I know people who've done it with really close friends who run businesses. They're like, hey, you know what? I have a friend of mine that has a makeup brand. I'm going to use her makeup brand and then I'm going to like advertise it on my show. And then you either have a barter or you have like, so sometimes you might start with just the closest people within your community. So I think there are different ways in which you can monetize as a podcaster. But like I said, I think Gautam might have maybe slightly more information than I do about this.
Gautam, if you can share about how independent podcasters can have some monetizing opportunities.
So thanks, man. Thank you, May, and thanks, Pavan. So as you can see, I'm trying to show you a different side of my room now. Now I'm just by the end of this, you'll see all four corners of my room. So the thing is that this is a very, very great question, and it's something that keeps me up at night because when we started Hubhopper, the initial objective was how do we create listening tools that are localized to Indian listeners, which gives representation to the Indian podcasts. Then it moved to, okay, now how do we democratize creation so as to let anybody in India who wants to create reach, not just create seamlessly, not just edit seamlessly, but also distribute to Indian platforms and get analytics. And now I think the third and a very interesting pillar for us is, okay, how do we take people who are interested in doing this, actually give them the ability to do this full time, and give them the ability to sort of do this without confusion or reservation. And a large part of that is monetization. And there are, like I said, I think May touched upon this extremely well. One of the sort of misnomers is you have to have content that's valuable to a brand. You have to have content that's valuable to somebody first. And that's across the board with regards to any type of content that you're creating. Whether you're creating text-based content, whether you're creating video-based content, whether you're creating audio-based content, you need to create a content that has inherent value in it, whether that's by the audience that it commands, or whether that's by the topic that you have, expertise on, or something that, people are, willing to spend on. So, I mean, once you take that one variable out of the picture, there are various ways that people can monetize, and we're trying to actually unlock a bunch of them here at Hubhopper. So some of them include, let's say, having listeners themselves contribute into podcasters in the form of crowdsourcing, if you will. So listeners can actually be a part of, giving their own host patronage and sort of giving their hosts reasons to continue making their podcast at the quality that they were making. And if they become patrons to the podcast, they get benefits. So they get extra episodes. They get, let's say, merchandise, as May and Made in India have already worked on in the past. If you look at your podcast not as the monetizing entity, but your marketing entity, then you can actually monetize it through various ways. Let's say through live shows. Live shows in the States in 2019 went up by 2,000%. Or you can look at actually using your show as an affiliate marketer. So a lot of podcasters aren't actually trying to go and find advertisers, but they're linking up with affiliate marketing channels. And when they take people from their pod site and drive traffic into their affiliate marketing channels, they automatically make money. One way is that you can, again, be okay with dynamically inserted programmatic ads. Now, these dynamically inserted programmatic ads can sort of be done via your host themselves. So these hosts can also increase the amount of money that you're making. But this requires, generally, it requires the fill rates within the country to increase. Right now, brands don't necessarily know who to advertise on, how to advertise, and where they can programmatically stitch advertisements. We're working on that. Or you can look at your host feed advertisements, where one podcast will actually find a brand and they will work directly with that brand and say that I am going to endorse Sleepy Owl Coffee in my own podcast episode. And as a host, I'm going to talk about how brilliant and beautiful it is. So you can do that for an entire season. Or you can create a branded podcast. The reason I realize that I'm just giving you guys a multitude of different monetization opportunities without actually focusing on any one of them. The reason why I'm doing that is to show you that there is a rainbow of opportunities to monetize. And these rainbow of opportunities will be unlocked. And it's something that we are day and night working on. And it is our commitment towards the ecosystem that we're going to keep trying to do it until we unlock it to some relative degree. There are other things that we're at a technology level working on that we can't even reveal here right now, but they're superbly interesting. And it gives the podcaster the ability to monetize in their own hands. Right now, I feel the biggest problem, both on the distribution side as well as on the monetization side, is that the podcaster is kind of rudderless, and they're like they're sitting in a boat without a paddle. So they're constantly relying on somebody to get them their streams or somebody to get them their money. Until they get their own agency and until podcasters get their own ability to get their own streams and get their own money, I think this problem isn't going to solve itself. So if we approach it from that perspective and see how technology can unlock that, this isn't going to solve. So we're trying to look at that from a localized perspective. I know I'm going on a bit of a ramble here, But the reason why I am is just to show you that there are a large amount of ways to monetize. There are some that will in a localized format do very well in India, and where today trying to look at each and every one of them and see how they can be unlocked at Hubhopper.
I have one thing to also mention, which is, and I think Pawan and I had like a really small conversation about like how things are changing in the world, in the podcast space in terms of tech and so on. I also think that even in India, there are things that are changing. For example, and again, this is fresh and exclusive news for you, Pawan. But we're actually working with a company that works specifically in terms of brand solutions and client relations within the podcast space specifically. They're a company called Idea Brew Studios. They started last year, and we were kind of there around the inception of them, and they're sort of handling a lot of our sort of podcast monetization because they are now working with brands directly to teach them and sort of like, you know, about what is podcasting, how to advertise on it, how to sort of have the integration of your brand within a podcast and it makes sense. So we are working with them really closely. We're kind of announcing our partnership really soon. And yeah, I think one of the founding members is actually sort of on this, on the chat right now. His name is Aditya Kuber. And I've worked with him the whole time I've been in podcasting for the last 5 years, and I've been waiting for him to do something like this. So yeah, there are like companies that are moving into this space of, you know what, let's capitalize on how we can monetize through podcasting. And like that, like this is where we're at 5 years into the industry, and now companies are, you know, we have a company that's actually doing specifically this and not like 100 other things. It's specifically for podcasts. So yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe I'll connect with you about that once again, but I want to hear from Varun about what he thinks. How can people monetize their shows?
So I still feel that we're early days, and I know that I love all the points that both Gautam and me kind of pointed out, but I feel that we need to look at this from a slightly broader sense as well, and saying what are the opportunities that are not just on the podcast. And I've actually looked at that as the largest stream of monetization. I know that Gautam mentioned education. That any non-fiction podcast, to me, a large number of them, it is the chat ones, are all educational podcasts. Like, why does someone listen to Advertising is Dead? In my head, I'm running an education podcast. I'm not doing an advertising podcast or a marketing one, right? So if you look at all of that stuff you're creating, you actually are creating volumes of courses that you could actually do because you have content there. But what if someone wants to drill deeper into each of those concepts? What if someone wants to read that as a book tomorrow? What if somebody says, okay, you've spoken about a lot of concepts. Can I have like a workbook for adults that I can create out of this that I can sell to you? Like, we all loved workbooks as kids, right? We'd love to do workbooks now as adults. And I feel as you look at from that lens, there's so much more you could create from what you already created. And it first kind of hit me a long time back because, bizarrely enough, quoting Gary Vee here, but Gary Vee has this downloadable PDF about how you can create an immense amount of content from one piece of content. And he says the base foundation content in many ways can just be a podcast. From a podcast, you can create so much more, right? From in every single channel there. And if you look at that, and then you kind of break it down, there's so much you can actually do as long as you look a little wider. It will take time for podcasts to make enough money through ad monetization, right? For someone to have a full-time job just doing that. But with all these things added up, it overall could make a lot more sense for someone to do. And you will also find different ways of even changing how you do your podcast as well, right? I wouldn't have thought of video versions of my podcast if I hadn't explored how YouTube functions, or how even the Joe Rogan piece on Spotify with videos actually functioning, and how is that different from this. And if his recent episode, he spoke about how what he misses the most is comments on Spotify, because he said the comments actually direct a lot of his content, and the only thing he doesn't get on Spotify is the comments, right? So it's interesting to see some of those pieces there, and you can see that it's all blurred lines now. Like, everyone is everywhere. And it's really interesting as long as you can stick to just making sure that what you're creating stays on the ball and kind of evolving. and keep your ears open to all the ways in which Gautam is going to make all of us money.
I have to make
think
myself money, yaar. This isn't even my jacket. I'm sitting in a suit store, as you can see.
I think that's a good way to circle back to Gautam and kind of bring an end to this conversation, because we have talked from what Roshan was mentioning about how podcasting is a false bubble, and now also exploring about what are these rainbows of opportunities and options for monetizing for independent podcasters and for brands as well. And I think we are like bringing in like a full circle of it. And once again, just want to thank you for being on this conversation today. I've seen like full retention here in the audience, and also comment section going on and on, interacting with each other about
people are collaborating with each other in the comments. So, like, people have exchanged notes. Someone's got Twitter followers, someone's got Instagram followers. I'm watching that only from that time.
I'm just seeing that, and there is someone also mentioning about how you can monetize your podcast and some things like that. Just lovely how folks in the comment section are also going about this, and I think throughout the session people have been listening to this very intently. So thank you so much to Varun, May, and Gautam for being part of this conversation. This is the last thank you. I'm not going to because I think I've been doing that throughout the day and last few days once again. But super to have you. I'm always happy to host you guys, and probably we'll interact over the next few days over an IG live session. I think I've done an IG live with Varun. May, I think we should do that with you soon. And I think that's all from our end for this conversation. We're going to end this session, and after
I'm going to say thank you to Pawan. Okay.
Thanks, Pawan.
I want to say thank you.
You really held this thing together.
Yeah, man.
Am I getting all my thank yous back? It's
Yes,
okay. You don't need to balance it out.
Thank yous back.
Oh, thanks, Pawan. Thank you so much, man. You're an absolute legend. What a trooper.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gautam. We're going to end this session and then take like a 2-minute break. And if you guys have time to interact with some folks here who are in the audience, you can always go back, because I'm seeing a lot of people have some questions here for Varun, Gautam, and me, for each one of you. But we'll just take like a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll come back again.